It's early January 2021, and students up and down the country have just found out that their GCSE and A-level exams have been cancelled. Obviously, that's something they were not expecting, so many of them would have been revising over the holidays, and ultimately, years of preparation would have been geared towards doing these exams. Now we don't have exams in year 9. I remember I did my SATs at the end of year 9. They no longer have those exams. So the last time the current lot of students would have done exams would have been in at the end of year 6. So the last 5 years of work is aimed at doing well in these exams. So you can imagine all the learning, the time that has been invested has I wouldn't say it's gone to waste, because knowledge is something that never goes to waste, but the students will feel disappointed and dejected, because this was they're being denied the opportunity to show what they know. Of course, schools had to be closed, and I think it's the right decision by the government to cancel the exams. However, I think they could have waited before making this announcement, because we're in January now, and these exams I think were supposed to be done in June and July. So they could have announced that exams would be reduced somewhat, and perhaps exams could have been delayed to maybe August. A situation where students would just take exams in one or two core subjects such as maths and English. I think that would have been something that perhaps we can't decide right now, but one of the options that should have been considered. Now, the big issue is that some schools have done mock exams in December. Other schools were supposed to do them later on in January. Some will be doing them. We're planning to do them in February. So now for the government to turn around and ask the teachers to assess their own students. Of course, that's better than the disaster of the algorithm that was proposed last year. However, I think it's a very difficult task, and I don't see how this is going to be a level playing field, because students will do different exams. So, for example, you might have a school who sat their mock exams in December, and so another student at a different school will be doing mocks in, say, April. Now, in between, you've got 3 or 4 months of learning and revision and preparation. So clearly, it wouldn't be fair to compare the student who did their exam or assessment in December with somebody who's done it in April, knowing that the assessment would actually have a huge impact on their overall grade. And I think that's definitely not fair. The other factor that we have to consider is a lot of these mock exams are, the schools use last year's exam paper. Now, the major exam boards like Edexcel, AQA, OCR, they don't upload that particular paper, because for the reason that schools will be using it for mock exams. But a lot of these papers are available online. People upload them on YouTube, and obviously it's very difficult to delete the papers as soon as they're uploaded. So basically what I'm saying is the paper is available. So you will have on one hand students who have actually seen the exam paper, so they're doing a mock paper. Potentially they could memorize the answers, and then on the other hand, schools might be using an unseen paper that they've got from a publisher, or one that they've made themselves. So that makes it very unfair. especially for those who have done mock papers that are very challenging, because their grades will be much lower. The other key thing that needs to be considered is the amount of time that students have had off school. So, some children would have had to been sent home to isolate for, say, 6 weeks, even 8 weeks. That's a considerable amount of time. And then on the other hand, there will be some students, lucky enough to avoid isolation time, so they've been able to go to school for face-to-face lessons throughout. Now, the other key thing to consider is some schools actually give a list of topics that would appear in mock exams. So it's very difficult for exam boards or the regulator to monitor and control these kind of things. So I think what should happen is the exam boards, so AQA, Edexcel, OCR, they should issue a series of, I wouldn't say exam papers, we can call them assessments. And because we know students may not have covered the entire syllabus, so for example, if we look at chemistry GCSE, it's broken down into 10 topic areas in AQA exam board. Now, usually paper 1 is topics 1 to 5 and paper 2 is topics 6 to 10. So what I would suggest is, if we go back, I think 10 or 15 years ago, exams were modular. So my recommendation is that AQA should issue exams or assessments that are modular. So you can issue, for example, an assessment which assesses topics 1, 2, and 3. Now, it can't just be one assessment, because obviously schools will be taking these at different times. So perhaps they need to issue a range of material which teachers can use based on the topics that they feel they've covered. So I think that will be advantageous, because the exam boards know that they've set the papers, so they would be similar in terms of difficulty, and steps can be taken to ensure that the papers are the assessments are unseen. For example, they could be emailed to the school on the day that they're to be done. I think that's a much better system than allowing schools to choose the mock exams. So these are just some of the issues. I think the key thing is that it needs to be a level playing field, because I know, even from working as a private tutor, I know from my personal experience that last year there were some students who got grades that were higher than what they deserved. And as a tutor, obviously I know where the students stand, because I've given them multiple exam papers, and I've taught them for a number of years. So obviously it's nice if for the students that have got higher than they deserve, but on the other hand, there were students who didn't quite get the grades that they deserved, and it can come down to other factors. So if somebody's a shy student, they probably don't contribute as much in school. The teacher has an impression that they're probably not as good as they might actually be if they were to sit exams. In other situations, some schools have actually gone against the Ofqual guidance, which was to look at the bigger picture and to arrive at a teacher assessed grade based on a number of assessments and a number of exams. They've ignored that, and they've based it purely on one exam that was done in February last year. Now I think again that was unfair, because first of all, the students didn't know that the exam would have such an impact on their final grade. So, and also and anybody can have a bad day, so potentially it's unfair to punish students who just had a bad day. So there were students who were getting grades 7, 8, even 9 in various papers, but the the one mock that was chosen, they had actually got a grade 5. Perhaps they had a bad day, who knows, and they ended up with a grade 5, and that's actually that wasn't meant to happen. So obviously the students and then the parents appealed to the school, but the school was not able to appeal to the exam board, because ultimately it was the school that made that decision to use one exam rather than look at the bigger picture. So these kind of issues were very common last year, and what I'm saying is we need to learn from the mistakes that were made last year. And I think the best way is for the exam boards to issue official material